Mr. Adkins, Vice Chairman of Minnesota for Marriage. Jason, are you with us?
Gentlemen, it's good to be with you. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Thanks for agreeing to be on. We appreciate it. So, where are we? Because I picked tonight to do a gay marriage show completely out of nowhere. To my mind, nothing of note has happened. But so, give us an update on where we are in the marriage battle.
Well, I think from those protecting marriage and those working to protect the institution of marriage from the many attacks going on both nationwide and here locally, both in our courts and the legislatures over the past few years, we're working to talk to our supporters about marriage, what it is, why it's important, and what are the consequences if it's redefined. I mean, just going out and having conversations with people, building a grassroots network, and getting our message out, which is, of course, difficult when the media is totally in the bag for the other side and won't question their assumptions, and the debate is totally framed in a way that's hostile to our position. So we've got to go out and have those conversations and build networks and help get the message out among people who are interested in at least listening and having that conversation.
All right, and how are you going out to have that conversation? Do you host town halls? Do you have meetings, new media? How is it that you're having the conversation?
Well, we have a number of Minnesota for Marriage is a coalition of different groups, secular and religious, who are supporting marriage, and we're reaching out to people within our own various constituencies, having meetings, working in churches, working in community settings, talking to people, educating them about the issues. We meet in libraries, we meet in churches, we meet in homes, we meet wherever we can to get our message out. We've got a website, minnesotaformarriage.com, where people can get involved and sign up.
Jason, is that minnesotaformarriage.com? Jason, is that minnesotaformarriage.com?
minnesotaformarriage.com.
minnesotaformarriage.com. Was .org taken? I'm kidding. I just wanted to repeat your website a few times so people would get it.
Yes, please. That's great. Thanks for doing that.
No problem. That's what they tell you. Repetition is the secret.
That's right. minnesotaformarriage.com, if you didn't catch that.
Go ahead. Well, let me ask you this. As far as the coalitions you're putting together within your members' constituencies, is it bipartisan? You know, the gentleman we're having on from Minnesotans United for All Families is a Republican. You know, they're trying to show the bipartisan aspect of this. Is the traditional form of marriage, is it just being pushed by those folks on the political right, or have you guys managed to put together a coalition from all ideologies?
Well, we're definitely working on putting together a bipartisan coalition. Defending marriage is not a partisan issue one way or another. There were Democrats in the legislature who voted to put the marriage amendment on the ballot. We're working with different community groups and ethnic groups who aren't traditionally Republican voters. We know in California, African Americans and Hispanics were the one who maybe came out to vote for Obama, but also put the marriage amendment there, Prop 8 in California, over the top, and we're seeing some of those relationships being built already. So we're definitely reaching out outside of the traditional Republican circles and conservative circles, or even a poll by the Star Tribune last month showed that 35% of Democrats in Minnesota supported defending marriage and supported traditional marriage and the marriage amendment. So we're certainly going to be talking to and reaching out to those folks, and that's already begun. All
right. Have you, first, I'm glad that you are looking outside of traditional quote-unquote Republican constituencies. Have you had any luck in the new immigrant populations?
Yes, we have. Our campaign has a community outreach coordinator who focuses on different groups, the Hmong, Laotian, Vietnamese, Cambodian, Somali communities, and of course, definitely the Hispanic community as well. Part of our coalition is working and reaching out to Hispanic communities, especially Hispanic churches, both evangelical and Catholic. So definitely reaching out to those folks.
I would suggest reaching out to the Somalis as well.
Yes, I did mention the Somalis.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not only does nobody else listen to our show, but I don't listen to our show either. So I missed that part. Now, how important is the fight for traditional marriage? Because there are a lot of people out there who would say, does it really matter if two guys get married or two women get married? What's the big deal?
I I think that's right. I mean, there's a lot of perception in the culture that marriage is just about personal decisions between two loving, committed people, and that's certainly what the other side in this conversation wants you to believe. It's just, love and commitment equals marriage, they like to say. But that marriage is not just about private decisions. It's an institution that has deep public importance, and it serves the common good and society. And that's something you never hear about from the other side. Is how does this affect society? How will redefining marriage affect society and the common good? Marriage is an absolutely cornerstone institution for the well-being of society. The reality of marriage, its public dimension, it's the union of a man and a woman, and and connects them to any children that are born from their union. That's why the government gets involved. That's why the state cares about marriage. It's because it cares about children. The love and commitment equals marriage definition, that's an adult-centric definition of marriage, but it doesn't reflect the reality of marriage, which is marriage is fundamentally about connecting children to their parents. People have sex makes babies, and babies need to be connected to their parents for their well-being. And by their extension, the well-being of children means the well-being of society for not only that generation, but continued generations as well. That's why the state has an interest fundamentally, and that's why we're concerned about protecting it.
Sure. Now, I would agree with you. Now, ideally, that a child brought up in a family that has both genders of parents, because I do think you get different things depending on the gender. My regular listeners of the show know that my wife and I had a baby girl about 4 months ago, and I wrestle with my 4-month-old. My wife doesn't, and I that is one difference. But there are many differences in how a father and a mother do the parenting. Our listeners to do? How would you like them to act? Do you want letters to the editor? Call their representative? Write you a check? How can our listeners help?
Well, I think the key thing, first of all, check us out, MinnesotaForMarriage.com. Again, MinnesotaForMarriage.com.
Is that MinnesotaForMarriage.com?
For a lot of folks who aren't necessarily inclined to hear our message, and there may be those folks in your audience out there, I would encourage them to dig deeper and think deeper about the issue than simply what they're fed by the media, because the media frames this issue, and I think in a completely unhelpful way, and focuses on platitudes instead of principles. And we need to think about that marriage is not just a private commitment between two loving people, but the whole reason the state gets involved is because children are born of that fruit of that union between one man and one woman, and that's an important reality for both the children of that union and, of course, society as well. I think we need letters to the editor. I think we need people to get involved in our campaign, people to give us donations, because we're going to get outspent by a significant margin. It's a grassroots effort, and if they want to protect marriage, they've got to get involved and do it now. The other side's out canvassing and identifying voters. We've got to be doing the same thing. So get out there, contact our campaign, get involved with us, MinnesotaForMarriage.com.
All right, Jason, if this had been, let's say, 30, 40 years ago, do you think you would be outspent? And where do you think the polling would be then? And again, this is a what if, but I've got a question after this.
Well, I mean, it's a fun hypothetical question. 30 or 40 years ago, you probably had a healthier marriage culture, and a healthier marriage culture couldn't even have conceived of something like redefining marriage or the legal fiction of same-sex marriage. So I think...
or ending cigarette smoking in bars.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's outrageous, too. So, if I heard you right, I hope I did.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, yeah. So the point being is that a healthy marriage culture, this is not even a particular issue. And unfortunately, marriage, like you pointed out, and I think it's a fair criticism, is that marriage is in trouble, and it needs to be. But the point is, it needs to be strengthened and not redefined. And that's what we're about: is strengthening marriage on all fronts, not redefining it out of existence and turning it into just a private contract between two people that doesn't really take into regard the best interests of children or society.
All right, Jason, thanks so much for the time tonight. We appreciate it.